Welcome to the Total Football Analysis Show. Here we are twice a month to talk about the best tactics, the best analysis of tactics, and all the most recent games and scores, and basically just cultural commentary on football in general, soccer, depending on where you are in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us some love. There's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. And today we're going to be talking about some very interesting things. We're going to be discussing Joaquin, who some of you might not know is like, what name is that? And we'll go into that. He is the Real Betis Balompié captain. We're going to be talking about Real Madrid and Ancelotti. And we're going to be talking about Everton. So join us, and we'll see you on the other side. So I want to present our hosts and our commentators. We have Coach Gabriel Peñalosa. How's it going, Coach?
Hello, everyone. It's been a good week. We have a good couple of weeks, actually, right? We have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. We'll do a little look backwards first, but excited to get into it.
And Mr. Daniel Suarez, all the way from the United Kingdom. How's it going, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to talk about our Champions League predictions.
Interesting. Let's do a quick. Well, I'm Emerson Mectis, as you know, not Erasmo Matos. Inside joke right there. But let's do a quick recap of some, let's say memorable things that happened since our last show. The first one has to be said, much to my chagrin. Congratulations to these two merengues over here. Easiest team to root for in the world. I don't understand why, but whatever. Real Madrid have won their 35th league. We're going to be doing a more in-depth look into what that means for, not what it means, but like how it happened, kind of. We're going to talk a little bit about the path and Ancelotti and this last, 9-10 months of Real Madrid winning the title. 35th title for Real Madrid, which puts them now in only one title behind Ajax Amsterdam as the European club with the most local leagues, basically. I don't know about all the leagues. There might be more leagues won in some part of Eastern Europe or something. Don't quote me there. But on the main, let's say, top 5, 6, 10 leagues, Real Madrid and Ajax are the two that have the most local leagues. So it's a very interesting thing. I think Rangers is close as well in Scotland. Not that I would call that a major league, but that's under debate. The other interesting scenario that keeps on happening is like the gift that keeps on giving is City and Liverpool. They're just not giving up. They're fighting for that Premiership week after week, no matter who they're playing in Champions League, no matter the rival. It's still happening. It's still 1 point. Whenever we're like, okay, that's it. Liverpool won a game that maybe was not their best game, and then Man City coming from a hard-fought battle against Madrid, and it's still happening. That title race is still to be TBD, as they would say, right? And then a discarded subject, because we were going to talk about the Serie A, but Inter then went to Bologna, and I don't know how to say this, but they fruit the pooch, maybe? Is that what you would say? I don't know if you saw that second goal that Inter received against Bologna, but man, that goalkeeper in some parts of the world would have to get personal bodyguards, which is...
That goal, just to interrupt quickly, that was the first time I'd ever seen an XG of 1 on that play. It's
you
like, this is the
goal?
goal.
You mean from the goalie, or?
No, so the play when the ball goes to the line, right? That's when they mark the XG, and the ball is basically on the line. So what it's saying is it's impossible to miss it.
It's impossible to miss it, and I mean,
What a gift!
And and also when you're finally fighting for the title against your historic rivals of AC Milan, I mean, that's one of those historical blunders that reminds me of that time, when Liverpool, when Gerrard slipped, remember, against Chelsea, and we basically gave the title to Chelsea, so and then my heart's out to all the Interistas. And then the other big subject matter that has been doing the rounds is Mino Raiola, right? So basically one of the super agents of football. Represents Ibrahimovic. Represents Paul Pogba, Erling Haaland. Unfortunately, he passed away. Agents always being polarizing figures in our sport. People that, if I was a football player, I would want the toughest, meanest agent you could get. But I'm not a football player, a professional one at least. So, it's controversial to say the least. But these are some highlights from the last couple of weeks that we can discuss. Congratulations to our two Madrid fans over here. And let's go to our next section, and we're going to talk about Mr. Joaquin. Welcome back, everybody, to the Total Football Analysis Show. Don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us some love. There is a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. And we are recording this on May 3rd. Is it the 3rd, guys? It is the 3rd.
Yeah,
May 3rd. Currently, the first half of Villarreal-Liverpool just ended. And I think it's safe to say that it's not what a lot of the British punditry thought was going to happen, because they thought it was going to be they were going to just be run over by Liverpool, and surprise, Emery being Emery again. As we had a show dedicated to that. And with that, we can do a very quick recap before we enter into our section about Joaquin, which is that the Champions League right now, is basically happening as we predicted. I mean, let's be real here. Like Villarreal playing very interesting, sort of like tactically across two games. So one of the things that is always interesting to hear from coaches and managers is that when you play these home and away legs, it's basically one half of 90 minutes, and then you play a second half of 90 minutes. And that is literally what Emery and Klopp said at the end of the first game, which is, yeah, we were much better than them, but that's just one half of the game, And I think I'll speak for myself. I think my prediction of what was going to happen or could still happen today was that it was going to be much tighter. It was going to be probably like 1-0 or 2-0 Villarreal. But I do think that Liverpool will probably get that one goal in the second half and maybe go through. So I don't know if you guys agree with that as something that could still happen potentially.
I was quite disappointed by Villarreal in the first match. I think they were completely overrun by Liverpool, and although they did well to keep it at 2-0, it was entirely one-sided. I think Villarreal had one shot on goal that wasn't even on target, and Liverpool had 20-some shots, 70% possession. I was expecting a little bit more of a fight. So 2-0, I think, was an excellent result for Villarreal. And this second leg, yeah, I agree. It's the second half. Without saying too much, or can we say something? Can we mention it?
Yeah, of course.
I was
this is going to air after, so yeah.
yeah. I certainly didn't think it was going to be 2-0 for Villarreal after 45 minutes. I'm actually shocked because Liverpool has been dreadful. They've been awful. So hey, it's a proper game now. So pretty exciting.
Coach, any comments there?
The first leg went as I thought it would, and maybe this is we talked about the Emery mentality, right? And we talked about the simplicity of his formations and of his instructions. I think Daniel was mentioning that on the last show, and how that helps a team, and then to have kind of like a broader lens rather than looking at just the match that they're playing. Have that broader lens that's just one half. The other half, the entire 90 minutes is at home, and it's at Villarreal. If you see the way this game is going, the first half at least, I mean, Villarreal is flying to the ball. They're getting there first. They're breaking on the spaces. Liverpool look lethargic. They look tired. They look disinterested.
Let me ask you something super quickly, because we want to go into Joaquin. Do you think it affects the players or even the management when you have all the British press, pretty much press across Europe, except in Spain maybe, where they know Emery and Villarreal a little bit better, but maybe the British press for sure, when they keep saying, you're better, oh my God, how was it only 2-0? Villarreal was horrible. How would they? Why are they there? How did they get there? Do you think that affects the players that they enter the field thinking, yeah, we are better? Do you think that happens?
I think it seems to affect players of Premier League teams, well, of teams other than Real Madrid, I guess I would say. Real Madrid can be absolutely abject, right? And then just come and then just win in just a few minutes. So I think the pressure is a little bit different in coming from England with all the money that's there. There's an expectation, and they feel like they have to maybe overperform every game just to have a baseline. So I think that could be it, but I also think a lot of credit has to be given to Villarreal and managers like Emery and how a small local team can generate energy in at home. And even though not just a small team, right? I think, for example, the when Leicester go to Roma on Thursday, I think Roma's gonna wipe the floor with them. To be perfectly honest, these are not easy places to go.
Yeah, mind you,
No.
Leicester is going to Roma not for the Champions League, not for the Europa League, but for that new league that they created. So
Yeah.
let's also give that perspective, right? It's
I
like,
think
Sure.
yeah,
I think something else that might factor in is the fact that Liverpool is fighting on four fronts, and they're very much in the title race. So there's a little bit, I think, of that wearing and weighing on everyone. Whereas Villarreal lost to Alaves over the weekend, it's like, hey, who cares? So yeah, so that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, to wrap this up quickly, on the other hand, you got Madrid and Man City in the game with no defense. It's like it's like the man who came from the cold or whatever, one of those like old titles from movies. This was, look at that, the football game with no defense. It was just
Yeah.
it was incredible to watch, and it's obviously a lot of fun to watch those games, but but if you really go down into the nitty gritty and the tactics, I mean, coach, defense was horrible on both sides. I mean, there was just nothing there. I mean, I don't know if there's a quick analysis there, or do you want to just jump into Joaquin?
I mean, we can give it 30 seconds, and all I'll say is, yeah, Ancelotti just kind of gave up certain things, and he's like, look, if we attack them, we're going to get some things. Because that's the nature of the team, that's the nature of the club, and that's the nature of Benzema, certainly this season. So I think it was really that simple. It was just a reckless abandon, and now leave them with a fighting chance to win it at home.
Reckless abandon can be a very beautiful thing sometimes to watch, depending on the focus. Anyway, so
Only in Madrid can play that poorly and basically be 100% still in the tie going into the return leg.
I have strong feelings about what you just said. So let's just leave it at that. Yes, and they're not new. They're since I was like 3 years old. So let's just leave it there. So because that just seems to be a recurring theme with that freaking team. Anyway, so let's jump over to cheerier subject matters for me, like Joaquin. And again, don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us, all the follows, and there is a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. And look at this face, Joaquin Sanchez Rodriguez, a guy that is not that much younger than us. Let's be blunt. He was.
That's not even to flatter us. That doesn't even flatter us. It just says about him.
Let me list some things that hadn't happened yet when Joaquin was already playing in Spanish First Division. 9/11 hadn't happened. There was no Iraq war. Facebook, MySpace, any of the social medias don't exist. Okay, Netflix is just a company that distributes DVDs. I mean, he started playing professionally as a starter for Betis in the year 1999. I mean, let's just he's playing against. I don't know if he has. I haven't checked recently, but he is playing against players that were born after he had already started playing in First Division. Yeah. So this guy, is the captain of Betis, and he just lifted the Spanish Cup, the Copa del Rey, as the captain, and it warmed our hearts so much that we had to dedicate a section to him because he's a journeyman of football that has had just one of these careers where he's on top of that playing in a position his entire career that is not one of those positions that you just assume a 40-year-old will play all his career. Goalkeepers, defenders, obviously easier, right? A winger, you don't see that much. Ibrahimovic as a as a center forward, maybe, you could. There's more argument there because he's also, I don't know if he's 40 already or getting there, but
He is, yeah, he's 40.
he's 40. Joaquin is a winger. Like he was, he's been a hard seven his whole career. So I don't know, Coach. Like, take us through some of what you saw and what you went through with this guy.
I mean, Joaquin is 40, but he's an old 40. He turns 41 in July. So
Yes, on top of that, yeah.
he was born in 1981, just for reference, and that's just madness. It's fitting that he wins, and who knows? I think he still doesn't know if this will be his final season. I think he's probably thinking of coming back next season.
No, he said he will. He said he will.
Why not?
He said he will.
He said he will.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
he said he will.
it makes sense. He wins La Copa del Rey at 40 years old. He actually had La Copa del Rey at his wedding.
Yeah.
It was there when he was getting married, and of course he's marrying his childhood sweetheart. Like, everything about this guy is local, right?
Yeah.
And it's he exudes longevity and locality. So there's this romantic notion about him that that's what we all want football to be. We want it to be local. We do want it to be global as well, but we love that local support, and we want it to be lasting. We want sustainable football. And Joaquin embodies all of that. He's just so easy to get behind and cheer for.
Have you
And
heard
one more-
his
sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
Sorry. Have you heard his Mourinho anecdote?
No.
He was
No.
supposed to sign for Chelsea in Mourinho's first stint at the club, and they had actually arranged a meeting in Sevilla, which Joaquin purposefully didn't show up at. He just blew Mourinho off, and later he phoned and said, "Look, I know that if I would have shown up at that meeting, I would have been off to Chelsea, and I just can't do it. So I'm really sorry. I'm staying." Mourinho said, like, "Wow, you're the first footballer to ever say no to me." And he stayed at Betis for a couple of more seasons before heading off to Valencia.
Another interesting stat, I don't know, Gabriel, if you were highlighting it, but so as we just said, he's been playing professionally in top division, for over 20 years now. He has scored goals every single one of those seasons. And as a winger, so there hasn't been a season where he hasn't been, scoring at least one goal since 1999, basically, which is incredible. So I don't know. Let's go through some of these numbers.
So yeah, just up on the screen we have some stats of his career here. Now it only goes back to 2008, which is when he started playing significant minutes. He only had like a few hundred minutes in the seasons prior to that, and he wasn't making any starts. He didn't really. He would come on as a sub quite often, but just a couple things to highlight here for me is like you mentioned, goals in every single one of those seasons. Assists in every one of those seasons except 2008 2009. And what I love about this chart here is the accuracy of his passing is ridiculously consistent. Aside from a couple of 77% accuracy in a couple of seasons, he's between 82 and 85% within 3%. So this is just a player. I mean, even he's approaching 40 and he's still reaching the 85% passing accuracy. So he's on his technical ability, it's not diminishing. His physical ability obviously is, but his technical ability is not. I don't know. What do you see, Daniel?
Well, I just think there's a tremendous amount of consistency there, and leading up to Spain's golden generation, that 2008 Euros. It's such a shame that he missed the boat there.
Well, there's a reason for that, but go ahead. Yeah.
It was his supposedly indirect criticism of Luis Aragonés.
Supposedly, it was very direct.
Yeah. But when you look at the sides of, you can't really complain in 2008, 2010, and 2012 for Spain. They won it all, and at least in one of those tournaments, they were one of the greatest sides ever. I'd say that would be 2012. But you'd think that there would have still been a little hole for Joaquin there, being so consistent, so talented, and he's not a one man club. He did play
No,
for Valencia, he did play for Fiorentina, but he was equally consistent with those sides. He's just a fantastic footballer, really.
and he did play a World Cup. He played in 2002.
Yeah, yeah.
And in 2002, he
2002.
yes, yes.
Oh
Let's
no.
remark that a guy that
Yeah.
just lifted the Copa del Rey as a winger, who scored a penalty kick, by the way, that was part of the winning shootout, was in the World Cup in 2002. And not only was he in the World Cup in 2002, he was part of one of the most infamous bad calls ever in the history of World Cups. Very, very controversial because it was against the host nation. It was against Korea,
South
and it was a
Korea.
quarterfinal, and it was a pass that he made against, I think it was Morientes who scored the goal after that. That
Yeah.
was called back. That was basically
Yeah.
reversed because of supposedly the ball had left the field. If VAR had existed then, there is no way that would have been called back, but it didn't. And you know, the ref overruled the linesman who had said no, that's good. It was the ref who overruled him, and that was the subject of a lot of controversy because it was the host nation. Well, that pass was made by Joaquin, and
Yeah.
so he's been part of one of the interesting highlights of Spanish football, since then. He did go to the 2006 World Cup, which was not a good one for Spain with
Hmm.
Aragonés. It was after that he criticized them because he said, we're not going anywhere with this guy. And so Aragonés said, no, you're right. So let's change out. And then came the golden generation. So maybe it was a good thing that he did for the country, you
For
know.
for those people that are maybe a little bit unfamiliar with Joaquin, have not followed Betis or anything, there are some. So the stats we use come from Instat, and Instat has this interesting kind of player comparison, so you can see what the player is or which other players the player is like. And I just pulled a couple. Let's see, I got 5 of them here. So it says 93% like Pablo Sarabia out of Sporting, 91% like Eric Lamela in Sevilla, 89% like Jose Perez at Leicester, 89% like Juan Mata at Manchester United, and 88% like Brian Mbomo from Brentford. So these are all kind of like different types of wingers. Some are inside wingers, some are outside wingers. Brian Mbomo plays further forward, almost like as a support striker. And I think that just goes to show all of the different characteristics that and attributes Joaquin has.
I would argue that Joaquin is better than every single one of those.
I would agree.
In his prime. Debatable now, but in his prime, absolutely.
No, and to be honest, he was in his prime, and mind you, his prime is a very long window, right? But
Yeah.
clearly, but he was in his prime, and this Chelsea anecdote was very interesting because somebody that did leave the same city at the same time, almost, but played for the enemy team was Reyes. So you got Reyes and you got Joaquin, and they were both wingers, both number 7s. But both for the opposing teams, Betis and Sevilla. And one did go to Arsenal, and he was part of a very storied Arsenal team that had Fabregas, that had Thierry Henry, that had him coming, a little bit later on. And he went, and he then came back to Real Madrid. Joaquin stayed in Spain, So Joaquin ended up playing in Italy, as you said, for Fiorentina, and he also played for that very interesting team of Malaga, that was a team that also had Pellegrini, and which is a team that also overperformed with Isco, and you got Joaquin, and Pellegrini was the manager as well. So, a little homage, let's say, to one of the real ones, as they would say here in the U.S., because Joaquin has been around. I mean, since I was in college, and let's be real here, and and he was already a player that I used to love watching. The last 2 Copa del Reys that Betis has won were 16 years apart. He was part of both. Let's just put it that, So, tip of the hat to Mr. Joaquin, 41 in a couple months, playing for another year, winning titles, a winger. Still super skilled, still super fast, and and still a competitor, and that's what we like to see. So tip of the hat to Mr. Joaquin from Betis, and Gabriel was looking at clips of his, and his accent is impossible to identify, I guess, for you, right? So
Yes, it is.
anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like us, and join us for the next section where we're going to be talking about Real Madrid and Ancelotti again. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us a lot of love. There's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. And coach, let's do socials.
Yeah, reach out to us on we're on Twitter. I am at FPL Lens. Or even in the comments here in YouTube, we will respond. You can DM us, request us, and we can continue the conversations there throughout the week. And
And Daniel,
Emerson,
Daniel, I was gonna just host intro Daniel because you don't have your social on your
Uh,
name right there. But why don't you tell us what it is? Yeah.
it's
this will be
it's
fun.
it's rather long, yeah. So it's Daniel. Just
Hey,
look for it in the comments. I'll put it on there.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And mine is right there. I use the same social both for Twitter and Instagram, and I will admit that I'm no longer in Facebook. But if you want to look for me there, you're gonna have to go back to Twitter. So that's kind of like a self-servant circle right now. And let's jump to the newly crowned, champion of the Spanish league, of the Spanish First Division. And I guess we talk about Madrid a lot, but Madrid is always in the news, and you know, so yeah. Now, Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid have won the title a little bit under a year after Atletico de Madrid won it. And before we go into some of these stats and numbers, it's been a very interesting league in general, La Liga, because I feel that Real Madrid has won it fair and clear, and I do believe since the beginning that they were the best team. But I also think, just from watching La Liga a lot, it was a very irregular year, bizarrely. It almost felt like Atletico de Madrid was like tired from last year because they went to the wire last year. And I don't know if the players had it mentally. Another year of battle, I think that's what happened. Barcelona is a mess. I mean, let's be real here. Messi left, and it was like that boy that was holding the dam with one finger. When Messi left, it just all collapsed. And Real Madrid, rightfully so, took advantage of that. Sevilla was never going to hold that much because they don't have the depth. They have great players, but I didn't think they had the depth to withstand the whole season. So that brings us back to Real Madrid, who have been steady in the league. So let's do some stats and comparisons and discussions here, guys.
just really quickly before we get into it, and I'll let Daniel open up on the Real Madrid talk. Fabinho just scored. It's 2-1 now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Rulli should have had that, by the way.
Okay, so I mean, we can point out a lot of things about Real Madrid this season. I think there's two really important things to say. First, the first one is in comparison to last season. And by the way, Real Madrid was champion on the last day of the season up until the last few minutes of the season when Luis Suarez managed to score. And that was honestly not a very strong or not a very high-performing Real Madrid. So what's the difference? Why are they 15, 18 points ahead? Honestly, we can go into tactics, but I'd say two things. One of them is fitness, and the other one is goals, which you'd think is pretty obvious, but it's something that plagued Real Madrid last season. They have been fit, generally speaking. All of the big players, all of the important players have played consistently throughout the season, with maybe an injury here and there, and then goals. Last season, the front three of Benzema, Asensio, and Vini Jr. Scored 30 goals, 31 goals, and this season with a few games to go, have 50 goals.
Wow.
So I think just with those two things was enough to be that much little bit better than the competition this season. Yes, Sevilla, no strength and depth. Barcelona, a disaster. Maybe Atleti with the strongest side potentially just didn't have it in them anymore. Who
Wait,
knows?
you think Atleti has a stronger side than Real Madrid? Do you still believe that, or?
Maybe, possibly. I think they have a very, very strong side. All the way from the keeper Oblak all the way through to the front line. But yeah, I think before talking about tactics is, hey, they're creating the same number of chances than they did last season, but they're putting them away, significantly more so than last season. So it's not much of a tactical analysis, but in a nutshell, that's it.
Coach, what do you think?
So I've heard I don't know that there is much of a tactical analysis when I think you when it comes to Madrid this season, and we talked about it. We referenced it earlier when talking about that Manchester City game, and I think that's a perfect kind of example. I think in Spain it has been a bit of a complicated season. Certainly, Barcelona hasn't really been there to push Madrid like they have in the past, so they've been able to get away with being inconsistent. Thankfully for Madrid is they have the remontada in their DNA, and they've come back 7 times in 7 pivotal
Before we
games.
talk about that, let me interrupt 1 second. Inconsistency with Real Madrid, based on what? They have been the most consistent team in the league, right? So you're saying they're inconsistent in what way, for example?
Right. So the inconsistency of Madrid is in style of play and level of play.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, where sometimes they're chasing the ball like crazy and they're pressing super high up the field, and they have like Modric running up the field and Kroos running up the field for God knows what reason, because they're
And
old.
Militao
And
charging, yeah,
talking about having no reason to be running up the field, that
yeah.
obviously brings up Militao into the question, right? And then we've seen other games where they've sat back in a shell, where they've hit on the counterattack, and I haven't really noticed any kind of rhyme or reason to when it comes to those tactics. So. I think it was Sid Lowe that was saying that Real Madrid thrive on chaos, and they can take advantage of chaos on the field because ultimately they have Vini Jr., Benzema, and Courtois this season
Yes,
that are playing out of their minds this season.
yes.
So, and that's it, and it's really that simple. So
Even though Daniel disagrees with you on Courtois because he thinks he hasn't been that solid for them. So maybe you should speak
I
to that, Daniel. Yeah.
from a goalkeeper's perspective, I think Courtois has been solid. He has made all the saves that he was supposed to make, which does not always happen. But his distribution is poor. He is one of the worst distributors of the ball in La Liga. He just doesn't have that part of his game, and whenever you expect him having a solid game to make that spectacular save, he generally doesn't. So if you take a look at the saves he's made, he makes the saves that a solid world class goalkeeper is supposed to do. So that's not saying that he hasn't been pivotal in Madrid's league this season. He has. He wasn't making those saves last season. He was not making the saves that he was supposed to save as a world class goalkeeper. So he's been consistent. He's had a couple of mistakes, but fewer than last season. And he's been somebody that the team can rely on, which wasn't necessarily the case last season.
Benzema, Ballon d'Or. Would we agree here? I vote yes, by the way, just before you accuse me of anti-Madrid. For me, by far, he's been the most decisive, most
Yeah,
essential MVP, as we would say here in the US. Like he's the guy, you know. So
yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that, for example.
Yeah, even when he doesn't score, he is central to everything Madrid does. I was speaking to um, a very strong support of the French national team last week, and he said that he is essentially now a combination of a Zidane-like playmaker and an Henry-type finisher, because he does drop deep, he does collect the ball, he does make space, and then he has those little flicks and tricks, etc., with ruthless finishing. What I think is really different from him this season, at least in the league, because he's only scored 3 more goals this season than he did last season, is his all-round play, where you do see him becoming that sort of playmaker. And it really helps that Vinny Jr. is now, if not the complete footballer, almost there. 14 goals this season, laying off assist after assist. That is important as well, and I think it's elevated Benzema's game, and it's let him showcase some of the other things that he can do. Phenomenal finisher, phenomenal number 10 when needed. Just a joy to watch. What a phenomenal footballer.
You agree, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, and I think what I want to show next is just there are a couple. So there are a couple things about Madrid, right? One is this idea that they are a counter-attacking team, which they are. They know how to counterattack. While I don't think they use counterattacking as an identity, they know how to counterattack is the best way I would put it. And then the other thing is we're talking about how great what a world beater Benzema is. And it's absolutely true, and that's created, and we've talked about this as well, fellas. Is that's created a dependency, right? That Madrid without Benzema, and we can go to the Barcelona game as a prime example, which we will go to in just a second here. I think Madrid without Benzema are almost like a team without a soul. They try to do the same things, and there's just this emptiness there.
I agree. I completely agree with that. And, Benzema has been subject of debate for many years amongst many people. I have always been a defender of his. I was always a bigger fan of his than I ever was of Cristiano when he was playing in that team. I thought that he was, and I remember specific moments that you only remember when you really dislike a team, and there are moments when, for example, there's a semifinal for a Champions League between Atletico de Madrid and Real Madrid that Atletico was absolutely dominating. And there was one play that Benzema, and this is at the height of Cristiano and the super Cristiano and Zidane, blah, blah, blah. And there was one play where Benzema steals the ball, goes through the end line of Atletico Madrid, dribbles 3 players, and makes a very soft pass to Isco, who scores, and they go to the final that year against Liverpool, I believe, or Tottenham. I think it was Liverpool. And those are the little plays that for years Benzema has had, against opponents where he just in one play destroys all the plans, right? And he's always been that way. So I think that it's good that he's getting props generally this year as probably definitely the best striker, and for me the best player currently in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go to the video just to show, one, the dependency, and two, the lethality of Madrid's counterattacks. And this is the play in El Clásico. I don't want to be accused of bias here, so I'm showing a play that didn't work out. And I'm showing something good that Militao has done. Militao plays that one pass all the way to Vinicius, and then so just for we don't, because of copyrights, we are not allowed to show the videos here on the show. So we've partnered with Tactic 3D. They are a coaching software that used for not just football. They use it for American football. They use it for handball. They use it for all sorts of sports. So if you're interested in the software that we're using and you'd like to see more plays like this, definitely check them out, Tactic 3D, and let us know. Reach out to us on socials. You can find Emerson at Emactus, Daniel at an undisclosed location, and I am at FPL Lens. And we'll if you enjoy this part of the show, we can recreate more plays like this. So this is just kind of a coach's perspective. Put this together. So this is Militao with the ball. Barcelona's in yellow. Real Madrid's in blue because that's just how the software is. And there's a pass that splits the entire team there, and it hits Vinicius Jr. running up the wing. And he does Araujo here with a little move, and then he gets to the end line and plays it. But look, there's nobody in the middle. And we'll play this again because it does go kind of quickly there. So we'll play it again for
And by nobody, you mean there's no Benzema, obviously.
Right. There's
Right.
no Benzema, and you
Because
see
it's not Jovic, it's not Mariano.
that's right, because they're not even in the game. And you see the closest person
Who?
is that's
Who's that? Who's
Modric at that's
Mariano?
Modric at
Who? Yeah.
that's Modric at the top of the box in the 10. So he gives it to Valverde. Valverde takes a shot and it's saved by the goalkeeper. But Modric coming in quite late at the top of the box there. Just one last time here, the ball goes through everybody. It's one pass from Militao to Vinicius. Vinicius looks up, there's nobody in the box. Does Araujo, there's nobody in the box. So he has to go back to Valverde at the top of the box. And it's not the ideal play. So it's clinical counterattacks, reliance on Benzema, and no tactics have won Madrid La Liga.
Amazing. And what I will say about, kind of like recapping or highlighting what I said at the beginning, it was a very steady. I know tactically and in terms of like the level of play was not super good, but what was steady about Madrid is that when they needed to step it up, they did. Sometimes, as you said, on the comebacks, on the remontadas, right? And this happened 7 times this season between La Liga and the Champions League. I don't know how many teams have that in them every year to come back when you're down. Madrid scored so many goals in the second half. Many, I don't want to say like all of them, but many goals in the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of games. Usually Benzema was involved in some way or another in those goals. So it was just the La Liga was sort of like going through a moment where it was suited for Madrid to just take off like that. You don't just by accident win a league like the Spanish First Division by 13, 15, 18 points, just by accidentally getting there. Like they've been steady, they've been consistent, they have put pressure when they had to. Sevilla, every time they were inching closer, Madrid would lock that door. When Atletico Madrid was coming up, they beat Atletico. Barcelona, I don't even know where to start with that team. So it was a good season for them. I think that Madrid can be happy that they won La Liga, and I hope it just only stays with that title.
So just to go over, I do want to go over those matches quickly here. So we have and these are just the matches were on 19th of September. Real Madrid beat Valencia 2-1 with goals in the 86th and 88th minute. We have the 28th of November. Real Madrid beat Sevilla with goals with a goal from Vinicius Jr. in the 87th minute. We're looking at the 20th of January against Elche, right, with Madrid. After Marcelo gets a red card in the 102nd minute, Isco scores in the 108th, and Hazard scores in the 115th. That's in La Copa. And then they come right back. The
best goal he scored since he is in Madrid, by the way. Yeah.
One of the
only one, maybe.
Might be the only one. And then they come back against Elche again, and they were losing to Elche, and Modric scores in the 82nd, and Militao scores in the 92nd to rescue a point on the 23rd of January. Then we're getting into more recent ones. The PSG game we all remember on the 9th of March to go 3-2 in the tie. Benzema with the hat-trick in the 61st, 76th, and 78th minute. Then we go to the 12th of April against Chelsea, right, to make it. They lost the game 3-2, but goals from Rodrigo in the 80th and Benzema in the 96th make it 5-4, so Real Madrid go through. And then the most recent one against Sevilla, the classic game where Nacho scores in the 82nd, Benzema in the 92nd to get the 3 points there. And then just to show like a little bit that, how do they do this? They must be counterattacking, just like really incredible counterattacks. And we look into it. So I'll bring it up here. We have like the stats that we looked into. They don't seem to indicate anything, right? So this is their pressing. If you think that they're counterattacking, then it's probably some low pressing. But in some games they have medium, like 38% low pressing, just like everywhere else. Other places it's 75% low pressing. It just really it's all over the place. The only thing they have that is even the pressing efficiency. Look at the pressing efficiency against Valencia at 17% versus a pressing efficiency against we're talking about a decent team here, PSG, at 59%. So it's not even like against good teams. It's one way against bad teams. It's just like Ancelotti's like, you guys are pretty good. Go play.
Chaos, beautiful chaos,
beautiful chaos.
I mean, that's what Sid Lowe said, and we agree with him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to Real Madrid. Let's watch this really quickly. Our time is up, Coach. Go ahead.
Our time is up. Here their attacks again varied all over the place. This is like entrances into the penalty box and shots on target. We see it fluctuate up and down across all the games from Valencia early in the year to Sevilla quite late in the year. And then the last one here, and those of you that are listening on the podcast, come check this out on the YouTube show, and you can pause it. We'll timestamp it so you can see this. And this is just the XG data that also just fluctuates all over the place. So just showing like absolutely no plan. Yeah, that's what we said. That's why we're saying like no tactics here. Just win, baby. I guess that's what Al Davis would
maybe
say.
no tactics is the tactic.
That's what
maybe
it is.
maybe that's
the Jedi mind trick.
Mind games. Yeah, you never know. He certainly looked very happy, and after they won the title in Madrid, big fat cigar, top of the buzz, probably a little bit buzzed. So clearly it was a big thing for him. So he had never won the Spanish league. So it was a big thing for him. Anyway, remember to subscribe and like us. There's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. And next up, we're going to talk about Everton. Welcome back to the TFA, Total Football Analysis Show. Don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us some love, please. Please. There's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to this to the TFA site. And let's talk about a little bit of a downer section, but only in spirit because great fans. But we're going to talk about that other team from Merseyside, that other Liverpool team, the one in blue, the one that just it's like the ugly duckling, of the city. Everton, man. Everton, as of today, would be playing the championship next year, which is crazy compared in terms of the history of the team, in terms of, to some degree, even the budget and the players they've had. But let me just start with a very general question to you both. How did Everton get here? What's happening? Why is Everton right now fighting for relegation? What's the deal?
I'd like to just say Benitez, but that's not entirely the case. It seems like it's been something that's been in the making. The club hasn't really had a philosophy for some time. The appointments of managers seem to have been quite random. They've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions on players, so you'd think that the managers have gotten support, but it's just a fact of no philosophy. And I think they could have done probably. It's funny to say, we just finished talking about Ancelotti and not really having tactics. They weren't that disappointing under Ancelotti. So that's. I think that has a lot to do with it. It's a club that's sort of been all over the place. Similarly to what happened to United, a club without a philosophy after so many years of Ferguson and so many years of being having a certain mentality. They've been all over the place as well for years.
Yeah, sorry, Daniel. I have numbers that I came across in terms of winning percentage for managers ever since the David Moyes days. So we have, since 2002, and I'm not going to say the smaller ones that were there as caretakers, David Moyes, Bobby Martinez, Roberto Martinez, Ronald Koeman, Sam Allardyce, Marco Silva, Ancelotti, Benitez, and now Lampard. Who do you think has the most, the highest winning percentage of all of those? I mean, these are people that, with more than a certain number of games, obviously, under them, right, per season. Who would you, if you had to get a wild guess, who has the biggest percentage there, winning percentage?
That's a good question.
Martinez.
No, it was actually. Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say Benitez.
It's actually Ancelotti. So talk about tactics, right?
Yeah.
And Ancelotti had 46% winning, 46% winning percentage with Everton during his time there. Second place, this might shock some people. Well, actually, no, sorry, close. But second place is basically tied between Roberto Martinez and David Moyes. And David Moyes was there for a long time.
Yeah.
Like he was there for over 10 years. The lowest is Benitez.
Yep.
Benitez is at 31%. Mind you, it was only 22 games. Maybe if they gave him 30, 40 more like Ancelotti, he would get to a higher percentage.
Yeah.
But you could argue that, it's fair to argue that they're there because of him. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they've been worse since he left. So that's why I threw Benitez out there. I was just like, ooh, maybe there's a little bit of a twist there. But no, they've had a couple of good results as of late, but they have been Lampard has not been able to get him out of that funk. They've had a lot of injuries, but with I think Jerry Mina in particular coming back, I think that's been something that's been very, very helpful. But not having Calvert-Lewin in the side throughout the course of the season, I think, has also hurt them significantly.
At Everton have had 10 managers in the last 6 years and have spent £500 million.
Yeah.
If £1 billion is supposed to get you the league, $500 million should at least get you mid-table.
Yeah.
And these guys are about to be relegated, but it's that inconsistency and the lack of vision, like Daniel said, and just really like lackluster managers. You bring the Dutch guy in with absolutely no plan and no way to communicate with players. You bring Sam Allardyce in. Like, what does it say about your club when you bring Sam Allardyce in here? Then you follow that up with Marco Silva. Like how is that even a philosophy? Then Carlo Ancelotti, he certainly excited the Everton fans. He brought some. The problem with Ancelotti is when he came, then he brought like some players that helped in the short term, like James, right?
Yeah.
And there was some that was like, okay, he's building something here, but that team lasted maybe half a season, and then they just fell off a cliff.
And how quickly did Ancelotti bail when he got met? It probably, it was like one text from Florentino, and I'll see you in 2 hours.
Yeah, he's like, hey,
I'm on the plane already.
Florentino's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And Carlo's like, yes.
No, I'm asking you about dinner. No, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly.
He was out of there quicker. It says a lot about the club too, right?
Yeah, but really quickly, what I want to get into here is just a little bit of how Everton have changed in especially the past two matches. Saw the match against Liverpool where they lost 2-0, and they looked like kids trying to learn how to do some shithousery. Like everything was over the top, and you did it too long. There was no subtlety to it. But it seems like in one match, between the Liverpool match and the Chelsea match, that they kind of got it. And Pickford, he everyone's claiming this incredible save when the ball gets kicked at his face. But it's how he uses that energetically to lift the crowd, to lift his team, to inject that energy into the team. And then, so just some people might not know. So against Chelsea, the Everton fans, I think they lit fireworks at 1:00 in the morning and at 3:00 in the morning, right outside the Chelsea hotel. When the ball would go into the crowd, there's a fan that hid the ball, put it under their shirt, so to help the team waste time. There were flares all over the place, shithousery on the field. Pickford, he did make some incredible saves. I did love that save where he has to go run across the goal and he's inside the goal, but he punches the ball out. I thought that was really well done. So I don't know.
Yerry Mina was doing South American theatrics, and I love him for that. In the heart of the Premier League.
He's holding his face in the box. El Pana Yerry. He was great. He actually played really well that game. And then I just, from a tactical perspective, and we all know that Frank is no friend to tactics. I just thought playing Mikolenko wide and Iwobi wide on the other side, it allowed them to really press Chelsea wide. Whenever Chelsea would get the ball wide to, say, Marcos Alonso or Reece James, there was immediate pressure on all of those balls. and then when they would go pressure, you had the pace and the motor of Damari Gray and Anthony Gordon, the young kid that's taking set pieces and stuff. That I think technically he might not be the best right now, but he has intelligence, he has speed, and he has a motor. And I just thought everybody was running for each other, but it was just a lot of chaotic
By the way,
running.
Gordon played a great game against Liverpool.
Yes.
Even though they
Yeah.
lost that game, fairly handily, but like he was a highlight because I hadn't really focused on him before, and we only have a little bit of time, so I don't know if you have any more graphics, Coach, that you want to show us, but
No.
okay, so I'm gonna jump in right into it. I want to see your predictions. Start with you, Daniel. Does Everton go down or not?
Given the fight in this match, I think they have every shot in the world to make it. So I would see Burnley going down instead. I'll give Jesse Marsh the benefit of the doubt and see Leeds staying up. I'd like to see Everton stay up. They're a big club. They've got my boy Salomon Rondon in the lineup, who actually played. If only he had better service, I think he'd be a hell of a lot more effective. But I'd like to see him up. I think they'll stay up.
Gabriel, what do you think?
Well, Rondon, I love Rondon. He's a hero of mine, but he's had an awful season. I think Everton do stay up, and mostly because of their schedule. Like this was the match that no one expected them to win, but they're going to be facing an exhausted Leicester side this coming weekend. Even though it is away, and Everton are not great away, I think they could take something there. Then they face Watford, which I expect Everton to take something there. Then Everton are a different animal at home, and then they have Brentford. They could get points there. Then they have Brentford and Palace at home, and Palace are not good away. What they want to do is just not leave it to that final game of the season in Arsenal. But I'm going to take it away from Jesse Marsh, even though I do think he's done a decent job. I think Leeds go down. I think Barcelona stay up.
Barcelona. I think Everton stays up as well, and I'll tell you why. It was that game against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Winning that game was enormous for them because they should have not won that game. Let's be real here. So Chelsea, is irregular part of the season for them. They're not at their best right now, and I think that was lucky moment for Everton given their situation. So winning that game, I think, was their season. I do think they have an easier schedule. If they go down, they just really, really screwed it up. Let's just be real here. So anyway, that's our show for today. And don't forget to subscribe and like us and give us, all the follows. And remember, there's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA. Don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to give us some love on all our socials. And also, there's a 20% off our affiliate link if you subscribe to the TFA site. We'll be back in the next couple of weeks with some more interesting recap of something that just happened live. Liverpool just completely turned it around. So congratulations to all the Reds, everybody that follows Liverpool. You'll never walk alone. And congratulations on another Champions League final. And I don't know, Daniel, Gabe, any parting thoughts for now?
No, I guess we'll be able to talk a little bit about that Champions League final as well.
Yeah, and I thank everyone for joining us. You can find me at FPL Lens on Twitter. Definitely reach out, send us questions, send us ideas, send us commentary. It's all good. Let's keep the conversation going for the next 2 weeks, and we will see you then.
See you in 2 weeks. Before we leave, Madrid or Manchester City tomorrow? Quick round right now. Who goes through? Who goes through?
Madrid.
Coach. I say Madrid too. God damn it.
Ooh.
Anyway, see you in 2
Bye-bye,
weeks.
Pep.
Have a good one, everyone.
Oh,
Cheers.
my God. Okay,
Ciao.
bye.